All right, happy Friday, everyone. We are live on the HyperFast Agent YouTube channel. We've got a special guest today, Kevin Palka from MVP Equity and Asset Construction. He is a big-time developer, has done big buildings. I'll let him describe some of them more, but welcome to the show, Kevin. And welcome to all the listeners out there tuning in live. If you've got questions, please put them in the chat window and we will answer them. So fire away and use this time that you have with someone who's doing real estate investment and development at a big scale, right? Because there's things that even you guys starting out or thinking about starting out can learn from someone like Kevin. So welcome to the show, Kevin.
Thanks, Dan. Good to be here today.
Yeah, why don't you start by just telling the people a little bit about yourself and how you got started in real estate and your journey, because it's an exciting one for sure.
Yeah, it has been. So I've been in real estate for 23 years. At 44 years old, I started when I was 18. I bought my first property, which was a townhome in upstate New York, and I renovated it and ended up renting it out and sold it 5 years later for a profit. So once I did that, I was hooked. And it was an amazing process. So, and growing up in the construction industry my whole life, being a carpenter when I first started, I was just addicted to construction as a whole. So I committed myself to learning throughout my whole life and just ended up working my way up through the field, through different companies in multifamily construction. I moved to DC in 2002 because I wanted to be part of this fantastic market that we're in, and building high-rise projects, large-scale mixed-use, 8-story buildings, 15-story buildings, large-scale mixed-use, high-density projects right here in Arlington, Reston, Alexandria, and in DC. So it's been an exciting process, and then we started our company back in 2008, back when the market dipped out, and we've worked our way up ever since. We fought our way through those hard times, and here we are in 2020 and getting ready to do some more business.
Yeah, so what was it like starting a company in 2008, a real estate company? Because it was an insane time. I remember I was transitioning from Florida to DC, and man, Florida got whacked during that time, but DC stayed strong. But what was it like back then, starting a company during those times?
Scary, for one word description, very scary. But we did it because it felt right. Our back was against the wall, kind of in a way, and I took a hard look at myself at that time and asked what I want to do with myself. Do I really want to go down this journey? And I felt like it was worth the fight. So in doing so, we slowly built our way up. We were doing retail construction. We were doing all different types of jobs just to bring money in the door. But we ended up doing good work for clients, good work for our customers, and that translated into more work and growth every year after year after year. And then eventually decided to get back into real estate development as the market heated up in 2014, 2015. We were building for other clients as a general contractor in DC, in Virginia, Arlington area, and we decided that, you know what, it's time to put our money where our mouth is and let's get back in the development game. And we did so. We have two successful projects in the last 12 to 24 months. The flats at Pierce Court, 12-unit building, ground-up construction, 5-story building. We were the builder-developer.
Just across the street from here,
Just across the street from here, and was a fantastic product, high-end finishes, sold out in less than 4 months. Very happy clients, roof decks, views, very Arlington product, very good Arlington product. And then we also did a 4-unit building in DC, in Bloomingdale, wonderful neighborhood. We took one of the only vacant lots available that was left in that area, dug down and put in 4 units there, infill property in a beautiful neighborhood. So it was very successful, and we sold those 4 units in less than 2 months.
Yeah, no, those are both great projects, I know, especially Pierce just across the street.
Yeah.
And, what I think is interesting about your background is, like, you went through one of the hardest times that we've seen in the country in real estate. And I think that's important, right, for people listening out there, or if you're thinking about investing with someone or having them as your mentor or coach, like there's probably a lot of people that have good track records that have been in the game since 2011, 10, 12, 13, and really just about anybody who's been investing in almost any asset class, really, not just real estate. But if their track record goes back to 2011, 12, that doesn't mean like, that they're necessarily you shouldn't do business with them or shouldn't get coached by them. But it means a lot more to me if their track record goes back like prior to 2008, right, or during those times, because a lot of, not to take credit away from anybody, but a lot of people could have gotten into almost any asset class or real estate in 2012 and done really well just by riding the market, right? Sure. But you started off during like one of the worst times, so I think that's important for people to take note of when you're deciding who should I follow, who should I get advice from or do a deal with, right? Like look and see if their track record has survived a tumultuous time, and there's been no other greater example than what we saw in those years.
Yeah, and I like to say sometimes there's not growth without a little pain. So we went through that growth, we went through that pain, and we learned from it, and it made us better people. It made us better at what we do. And we've survived, and we're here, and now we're doing very well, and we've been doing very well for years now, and we're looking to grow. We're looking to bring on new clients and new investors to come into these projects to be a part of what we're building here, be part of our family, be part of this adventure that we're going through, and really take hold of it and learn about real estate. If you haven't been in real estate before, we'd love to bring new beginners in. Experienced professionals. We work with a vast group of individuals in the market across the sector. So we welcome beginners all the way up to experts, and we have fun with all of them. So
just describe you got two different companies, MVP Equities and then Asset Construction, right?
Correct.
Yeah, describe what each of them does and how they're different.
Yeah, so Asset Construction is typically just a general contractor, and we build projects for other clients other than ourselves, and for ourselves as well, depending on the size of the project. So Asset goes through, and we will go through pre-construction. If a developer comes up to us and says, we're looking at this project, but we don't know what the construction costs are going to be, we will work with that person, that developer, develop a pre-construction budget, help them through their permit process, provide any design assistance or input, value engineering, things to help make their numbers work within reason, so that they can get their loan, work with their lender and their bank, get qualified for their bank to help that process move along, so they can get to closing on their construction funds, get their permit, and start building. So we'll go under contract and build multifamily, anything from actually single-family residence up to 20 to 50 units. And then MVP Equities is strictly a development company. We acquire land. Used for that piece of dirt, and in doing so, we go out to the marketplace and obtain equity investors. We work with and the lending institutions to develop the capital stack to get that project executed. So we work in Northern Virginia, we're working down in Richmond, Virginia, and in DC. And so MVP Equities is more of a developer hat, and Asset Construction is more of just construction hat.
What would you say the keys are for each one of those? Like, if you're in the construction world, like, what are the key things you got to look for? And if you're in the developer equity world, what are the key things you got to look for on that side?
Yeah, on the construction side, obviously keeping costs to a minimum without sacrificing quality. That's one of the big keys when you look and select a general contractor. Who's their personnel on site? Do they have the right superintendent? Do they have the right project manager? What's their track record within that company? Speak to other clients, reach out, do your homework, make sure that you're vetting these people, you're vetting the general contractor, you're vetting the work that they've done in the past, and making sure that they do quality work. From the developer side, the cliche saying location, 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 that's one of the big keys to making a project work. Economics is a big thing. Location is key, and making sure there's a need. The marketing studies are done properly. The massing studies are done properly, so you have the highest and best use for that piece of dirt that you're trying to acquire.
What's the biggest challenge that you've faced in both of these worlds, construction side, developer side?
The construction industry in DC right now is very busy. So maintaining quality subcontractors, quality tradesmen has been a little bit of a challenge, I think, for everybody. So just making sure that the QC is remaining in place and there's no lack on that side of the game. It's very important to produce a good product. So
there's more demand right now, more activity. So finding good crews is probably harder. This is where I think someone who has a longer track record, more experience, they probably have that network, that relationship, that previous experience, with different subs and people that I think, you're just going to have some advantages that someone new to the game probably doesn't.
That's
right?
Correct. Yeah, we utilize our relationships that we've had. I mean, for example, a gentleman from Continental Construction, I've been working with him as a subcontractor for almost 20 years in Northern Virginia. So that says something. He works with us. He'll bend over backwards for us. He knows how we work and operate, and in addition, he gives us competitive pricing. So there's a lot of advantages, like you said, to having somebody like us come into the game. And we just use that to our advantage, big time.
All right. What about on the developer side? Biggest challenges that you face there?
So the developer side is really finding deals that make sense, having good deal flow to bring to the marketplace. We don't want to bring anything to the marketplace that isn't already vetted by us, or gone through our stress test of, is this a good deal or not? So finding the good deals, we'll look at 30 deals a month and may get one deal out of that we want to take to the equity markets or marketplace. So then the challenge, once you identify the project and the opportunity, the challenge becomes getting that out to the marketplace, getting feedback, raising equity, and finding people to jump on board to that particular project.
Yeah, I think any deal you do as a developer, it really there's finding the deal, making sure it's a good one, right? There's that phase. Then there's, can you get the capital? Can you get the equity?
Sure.
The bank financing lined up to do it. Then of course you got the operational side, which is we talked a little bit about that on the construction element,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got to exit it. You need a good sales team at the end. So you got to have all of those places. I think on the developer side, you got to be able to generate a lot of leads, right? You got to get good deal flow and stay disciplined, because I think if you don't get enough deal flow, not enough people bringing you deals, and you lack discipline, you might get tempted to jump on one that's maybe not good, or maybe you're making bad assumptions to make it look good, right?
Right, absolutely, and never to act out of desperation or from a place of lack. Always act from a place of certainty. So when we do that and keep that mindset, it's a mindset, and it's making sure your worldview is on point with what you just said. And finding those deals and getting the deal flow. I mean, at any given day, I look at sometimes 3 deals in a day, and which keeps us busy. And it takes a lot of time to go through the numbers and check to make sure what's being sent to you is accurate. And
what are you doing to generate deal flow, or like how do you look at 3 a day?
Yeah, so
where do they come from?
So we deal with different types of real estate brokers in the industry. We also deal with different architects that will speak to us, or we network with, take to lunch once a week. I personally make sure I meet with at least one person a day, that I network on a personal level. To us, it's personal. We're a family-owned company. It's a personal thing to us. So we that human-to-human contact is sometimes a lot better than the social media. And just having those relationships, we talk with architects. We'll get tipped off from an architect or a civil engineer even, that they know somebody that's called them that's working on a piece of land, maybe reach out in a tax database and do some searching. We have some guys in our office that are kind of boots on the ground that will go out, search the land records, and kind of see what's coming up, in and around certain areas that we're looking at.
What do you recommend for the smaller guy that's starting out? They're not looking to do 20 units or even 10 units, but just the small mom and pop guy or the guy doing it, as his side hustle, because you were there once yourself too.
Sure.
Like what should those guys be looking at to find deals?
Well, my experience in my career was trial by fire. If you want to avoid that learning curve, I would encourage them to hire a coach, hire somebody, or partner with somebody that's actually done one deal and then learn from that deal. Don't go out and try and get rich off of one deal. Forget about that attitude. It never works. Think about the long term. Think about partnering with somebody that has done it and has been through the trenches and completed a deal start to finish. Design, acquisition, build, and sell.
Yeah, that's solid stuff. I mean, I think that applies so much more than just real estate. Like,
sure.
Yes, you can learn by the trial and error method and just doing it, and like no matter how many classes you go to, no matter how many books you read, at some point you need to just go out and execute and do. That's where you really learn. But if you want to compress time in almost anything you could do, like go get a coach who's been there before, or partner with someone who has. Like I agree. Like all the best deals I've been in, the best really anything I've been in life, I've had a experienced partner or hired someone as a coach that did it before. Like it really just compresses time, and it makes you grow a lot faster, learn a lot faster.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. We definitely, I have coaches not just in real estate, but in business and in personal, and it helps with personal development. If you're solid as a person, you develop good habits. There's definitely a lot of books out there you can read, but developing good habits and learning how to collapse time by setting tangible targets every day and then tracking those targets. Having metrics in place is a huge thing. Being able to understand where you are and what you're doing and how to track it. That will let you know, and you'd be able to measure your progress. And that's something I would highly recommend to most people. And again, that's not just in real estate. Being able to measure your progress as an individual is huge.
What do you do to measure and track your progress on projects, on anything really?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
On a personal level, I journal every day. I keep a written log of what I'm doing. I used different types of apps that I track my hit list, my hot list, my done list, and I set what I call one door and 4 keys every week. So what is the one door I want to open this week in business? Let's say it's in real estate and marketing. I want to find the one deal. What are the 4 keys to opening that door? So I will develop and write down what those 4 keys are in my journal or in an app. You can do it in Evernote or whatever app you like to use to track your to-do list. And the one door and four keys attitude is it's a good discipline to have. And then every Sunday, what I do is I do what's called my general's tent. I put my general's hat on and I return and report to myself. I look and see what I did for the week, and I said I accomplished this. Did I open the door? Did I not open the door? What is the course correction that I need to do to open that door? And then the week starts over again. So I'm tracking my results through my journal and these tactics of the one door, 4 keys, and general's tent.
So every week you're writing these goals down, the one door, the 4 keys, and then are you going back to that each day to kind of check in?
Yeah, so at the end of it, that's a good point. Yeah, at the end of every day, I track or cross off that list if I've done anything. So that way on Tuesday, let's say it's Monday, I cross off the list Monday night before I go home. Tuesday morning, I'll get up and I'll review my list again, go to work, and I'll attack that list, attack those targets, and then at the end of the day, same thing. I will see if I crossed anything off. So you can course correct on a daily basis, but the return and report every Sunday and kind of getting you ready for your week is very important. Staying organized as an individual and staying organized as a businessman and being able to attack your targets with effectiveness.
Yeah, I think that's key in business and in financial goals, personal goals. Like you need those bigger check-in periods, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're kind of doing month or weekly, but then you gotta come back every day at the start, the beginning, and look. And the more often you track, like this is something I learned from Ed Milet recently. The more often you track, like the the more course corrections you can make. So the quicker you can keep from getting really off track.
Yeah.
Like if you know, he breaks it down kind of interestingly, but like, you know, a lot of people check in once a year. Like they kind of have their goals and they check in January and right. You could have a bad year, but most businesses check in monthly. You do that, you could have a bad month. But if you start getting it down to weekly and daily, you know, you're reducing the amount of time that you can be off track. I think you've got a much better chance of hitting your goals.
You know, a lot of people have a goal of, for example, you know, I want to make $1 million. Well, if you're going to collapse time, you got to be able to track it and bring future results into today by envisioning who that person already is and borrowing from the future, borrowing the characteristics of that person and using that in today, in the present. Be here now. Be present with what you're doing, and borrow from that person that you're hunting to become, or those goals that you're hunting. You know, think with the mindset that you already have it. I hate to use the cliche positive thinking, but just, you know, changing your mindset to borrowing from the characteristics of that person you're trying to become. And, you know, ultimately it takes 90 days, they say, to change habits. So, you know, pick a habit that you want to change and start working on that habit over 90 days. And then you compound that over a year. The person you're going to become in a year is going to be that much better. So we'll focus on changing habits. It takes 90 days to change a habit, but pick that, make that your 1 door, 4 keys for the first week and start working on it.
I mean, that's not a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
Like 90 days, anybody can do that. Like I used to be on submarines and would be underwater for close to 90 days. So I know, like, you know, you can work on a bad habit for 90 days. Like it's not a long time. And just imagine, like, if you put in 3 months of work, right? Not a lot of time, 1 quarter, 90 days, like that could change a bad habit for a lifetime. I mean, that could really change your health, your wealth, your relationships, like any of it. It applies to everything.
Yeah. It becomes part of your balance. And if you do that, your results in business are just going to get that much better, that much quicker.
What kind of longer term goals do you have? Obviously, you got the 2 companies. You're, you know, working on a couple different projects right now. One in one in Alexandria, a couple down in Richmond. Where do you think this goes in 5 years, 10 years?
Well, so from the standpoint of geographic areas, we're focusing on areas that have high growth. Obviously, Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia has high growth. So we have a project in Alexandria. It's a 10-unit condo building with 2 retail spaces that we're currently getting ready to permit and start construction on. It's a fantastic project, location on South Washington Street, right in Old Town Alexandria. Really good project, old historic building that's going to be converted into beautiful condos with high-end finishes, 2 amazing rooftops with 360 views of everything. So that type of product, we love those older building projects just because they have a historic element to them. So we're bringing older building back to life. That always excites us. We're also focusing on other areas of Virginia, such as in Richmond, where there's double-digit growth in the economy there. We right now are putting into our pipeline, our development pipeline. Our goal is to develop approximately around 600 apartments a year. So we're ramping up our production as a company into what we're putting into our pipeline for the long-term growth of the company. So we're focusing on areas not just DC, but also like areas like Richmond that have a lot of potential to grow. So right now is just building a bigger pipeline that can expand how much we're doing, how much volume, and where that's going to take us in new opportunities in 2021, 22, and beyond, and maybe even move into some even larger projects, commercial projects, or whatever it may be. But right now, just getting that pipeline flowing and developing some good areas of Richmond and DC and restoring buildings and things like that we're really passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, if you do the math on that, that's going to be like 6,000 units in a decade.
Yes.
How are you doing 600 in a year? Like, what does that look like? Is that 3 buildings, 6 buildings? Like what kind of sizes are
so
there?
right now you're looking at right now we have 3 buildings under contract, and each one's about 200 to 224 units on average per building. It's a mix of studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. First project is right near VCU University in Richmond, so it's near a school and a university as well. So it's strategically located not only workforce housing, but to help with student housing, the demand there with the universities. So to manage these projects, some of the other ones are also market rate projects in areas of Chesterfield County and areas that just really have a demand for housing, quality housing. So to be able to do all that, we're meeting with a lot of people. We're meeting with a lot of investors. We're raising equity. The equity portion is a very important component to this. Getting people to come on board and partner with us and be part of this and gain residual income by investing in projects at extremely solid areas. Again, location, getting them to creating wealth for other individuals, bringing them into our fold and being part of our vision to create wealth for their families. So it's a long-term plan. It's not going to be easy, but we definitely have the team in place. We have everyone that works for us, has a lot of experience, 20 plus years at least of experience that's working on these deals. Analyzing numbers. Our lending partnerships are very strong in the marketplace right now. We have a lot of relationships with quality lenders, guys that want to loan money to us, and because they believe in our track record, they believe in our product, they believe in our vision, what we're doing, and they believe in me as the leader of the company. So just giving that belief and just getting our message out to the public to be part of this.
What do you do once you have them finished, right? So you obviously got the construction company, so you either have great people to manage and build these projects, or how to find the right people, if you outsource it or whatnot. But once it's done, how are you going to manage all 600 units a year?
Right. So depending on our exit strategy for each project, there's 2 things that can happen. Some of the exit strategies are to sell the property off after 3 years and once it is stabilized. But we work with, just as we partner, or I recommend people partnering when they're starting out, we partner with certain management companies that are national that focus on apartment management. So it's not our expertise to manage an apartment, it's our expertise to develop it. So now we're bringing in, again, the right people, the right players with experience that can manage the property for us. They'll handle the rentals, they'll handle the maintenance, they'll handle everything associated with maintaining the property and keeping it rentable. So establishing good relationships with those folks is important. It's all part of our network that we've created, and just continuing to evolve and making sure that level of quality is there with the types of companies and the people that we hire and work with. So we will have management companies to manage these portfolios. And then again, especially if we're keeping them long term, so the option is to keep it long term for 10 years, refinance it at that point, take some equity out and do another project. Once you have a project, one of the great things about real estate is once it has equity, you can leverage that property to acquire other properties.
So you can take money out without having to pay tax on it.
Exactly.
Put that to work. Yeah.
Very well said. And we put that money to work. We put people's capital to work, and that's what it's all about. And at the end of the day, so in some properties, just depending on the economics, there's a lot of companies that may have a tax issue that we know, and they need to put their money somewhere, and we may want to offer to sell to them, not only just to sell it, but to help a partner out and say, well, take this property, sell it, or buy it from us, and put your money here, park it, get a tax advantage, and we'll take our money and put it somewhere else.
Yeah, I like this concept of, obviously you're really strong on the developer side, the construction side. That's your expertise, that's your lane. It seems like you're comfortable with that, and then comfortable with outsourcing the management aspect.
Yeah,
which I think is a good point, because a lot of people say work on your weakness, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's some bad advice.
It is some bad advice.
Because if you're great at finding a property, raising the capital, and building it, that's a completely different skill than managing the tenants. Right?
Yeah, well, it's a completely different skill, and it's the old saying, do you know what you don't know? And being honest with yourself, doing a fact assessment of yourself and knowing what you're good at and not good at, and avoiding competing commitments. We're good at development and construction. We don't want to make another commitment to property management. And when you have competing commitments, it's psychologically proven to bring your production down. And we don't want to do that. We're all about raising our production levels in all areas of our lives.
Yeah, I think a lot of people could benefit from applying that concept and like throwing out that kind of old advice of work on your weakness and then just double down on what you're strong at and hire the right people or outsource to the right people to protect you from your weakness and let their strength, augment your weakness and just get really good at what you're good at, what you enjoy.
Sure, absolutely. You have to enjoy what you're doing and you have to know what you can't do. It's that simple. So my advice to people is, bring in the right people, bring in the right professionals. It's just like, when you bring in the right subcontractors, it's the same concept. You get what you pay for.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also like I like what you're doing in the from the vantage point of if you think about how many people you're helping out. Like when you develop a building and rent it out and all of that, like you've got your construction team that's benefiting from it. Like they've got great jobs along the way.
Yeah.
You got the banks that are giving you the money that you're creating value for them. You've got investors that are putting in the equity that now can get truly passive income from real estate, right? Because if you go out and you buy one rental home or two rental homes or a couple, like that's not passive income. Like you're like it's maybe leveraged income, right? And leveraged a little bit, but you got to put a lot of time in to collect the rent, fix things, take calls, like all of that. Like it's hard, and unless you got enough units, like outsourcing that to a property management is going to be tough. It's going to eat away a lot of your profit.
The numbers don't make sense,
right?
Really.
So this is like really cool because it provides investors a way to get truly passive income that they don't have to worry about it. Like their hands are off. It's truly passive.
Well, they're creating money while they sleep, and that's what better way to create wealth by creating money and upping your bank account while you're sleeping. And they're investing in a project that is a secured asset. Your value is secured by the equity that we are creating when we're building it, and the value that's created. The banks that are investing for a reason. So I would encourage people, if they want to make extra money, if they want to invest, this is a great way to do it. Invest in apartment buildings and invest with a developer that knows what they're doing, has a solid track record. You can make some good money there doing it, and your investment is very secure.
Yeah, and so you got the construction guys you're helping out, the banks you're helping out, the investors you're helping out, then the management company, right? You're creating jobs and work for them, and then at the end of it, you got the tenants you're helping out, these people that or the buyer. If
we're
it's a
creating homes
for
them.
So people need homes, people need a place to live, and you're making these awesome places. So it's really cool to kind of look at the entire value chain of any developer, especially ones working on bigger projects, like just all the lives that they touch.
Great
point.
It's
really cool to see that.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I still think in the United States and all around, there's still a very good need for quality, affordable housing. For millennials, for baby boomers that are retiring, there's just a huge need for quality housing. This country continues to grow, and the housing stock is still very old by trade, and providing affordable, brand new quality housing is really, like you said, helping people out down the development chain and the supply chain.
Yeah, no, I agree. We'll probably wrap up in a little bit. If you guys have questions, let us know. We got any questions yet, Kelsey? No? It's a silent crowd, very attentive, but silent. We must have answered everything that they have. You still got a couple minutes though. If you want to ask us anything, just put it in the chat window there. Let's move on to the HyperFast round. So I like to do this just rapid fire questions, short answers.
Okay.
When we get towards the end. So.
Fantastic.
All right, are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. What is your biggest piece of real estate investment advice for someone starting out?
Do your research and hire the right people to help you evaluate the project.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, don't get into a bad deal. What about a seasoned real estate investor? Biggest piece of advice for them?
Find the best financial term sheet for the project through your lenders.
Good one. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made in real estate?
Probably taking a loan that was higher interest when we could have gotten a better deal, but we weren't confident that we could, so we just took what we had. So I would say take your time, really evaluate it, don't panic, and don't panic.
All right. What is your biggest win you've ever had in real estate?
My biggest win was in 2012 in Washington, D.C. Asset Construction was named the D.C. Historic Preservation Award winner of the year for a project we designed and built in Capitol Hill. It was an old carriage house in Capitol Hill that we restored, designed into a net zero energy building with solar panels on the roof and geothermal energy. It was really cool, and it was historic.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you were starting out today, right, you had no money or very little money, none of the assets that you do right now, but you had your knowledge, right? You had your experience. What would you do?
I would network with like-minded investors or family, somebody that can help you generate some equity or down payment to purchase a piece of real estate.
All right. Well, thanks for participating in the HyperFast round. You made it through. And thanks for being on the show today. As we wrap up, if people want to get in touch with you or learn more about what you're doing, like, what's the best way for them to contact you or connect with you on social media or whatever?
Yeah, they can reach me at 703-201-5330. You can go to our website at mvpequities.com or assetcompanies.net. And on mvpequities.com, you can look at our current projects that we have out for offerings for investment and see what we're up to every day. It's updated every week, so it's a great tool to use to see what we're up to.
All right. Well, reach out to Kevin if you guys got questions. Connect with him. Kevin, thank you for being on the show.
Thank
to
you
all
for
our
having me.
Listeners out there, viewers out there, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the HyperFast Wealth Show. We'll see you next time.